Welcome home, everyone. Thank you for joining in on this episode of Welcome Home with the Katinas. Welcome Home is a podcast where I, your host Josh, sit down for a conversation with different people who I admire and discuss whatever's on their mind, and especially focus on life at home in times like this. Wherever you are and however you're listening, thank you for your support, and once again, welcome home. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining in on this week's episode of Welcome Home with the Katinas. Hope everyone is enjoying July. I know, so we're recording this in advance, so I know the last episode that you heard was just me, my dad, and my Uncle John. Today I got a few more of these guys to come in, and I'm excited to have them here with me. And I want to start off by thanking everyone who is a part of this community, everyone who watches the show, listens to the show, joins on all the different content that these guys produce throughout every week. This is a community for you guys and for us, and we're so happy to be a part of it. And so thank you guys for being the backbone of what the Katinas are and what our mission is, which is to give people a spiritual community through songs and stories. And so today, maybe we'll have some stories, maybe not songs. I don't know. One day we'll have you guys sing for us. But if you watch these episodes, listen to them, I want to let you know you're a part of this. And if you want to learn more about it, just visit thekatinas.com, and it'll take you where you need to go. And we'll have lots of information for you there. And so thanks in advance for that. All right, uncles. Well, today is, I think this will be like officially a month of us doing the podcast here at the house. And it's been a fun adjustment for me. You know, I think, so my last episode that I had at my house was with my dad. And I told him, in a way, I was a little bit sad about the transition from there to here, because I really did enjoy getting to have kind of those one-on-one things and having people come over to my house. And I don't know.
Roscoe some.
Roscoe. Yeah. I don't know. I was not sure what to expect when I knew that this was going to be great and it was going to be fun, but I wasn't totally sure what it was going to be like. But I really have enjoyed it, and I hope you guys have too.
For sure.
I want to, before this, I told you guys, I don't really have an agenda for today's conversation. Just off the top of my mind, I know NBA free agency is about to start. I know that it's really hot here in Franklin, but I'd like to start off by just asking a question to any of you guys that has been asked on this podcast a lot, and that's this: what's going on at home?
Very appropriate. It's, for me, at my home, it's definitely a busy time. You know, it's summer, so while the kids are off of school, you know, sometimes you would think, okay, we can relax, but not really. There's just always something going on, either camps, kids camp, church youth camp, which has been great, by the way, for my kids. And then, you know, with Chrissy, she's got a million things on her list, but that's just her. That's her personality. And I love this time because we, you know, summer, we are trying to be, I'm trying to be intentional about blocking off time to just be with my family. Last night, we packed up the car and we took a 25-minute drive to Jackson and Leah's home. They just got into their new home.
Congrats to Jack and
Yeah,
Leah.
shout out to the young adults. And we just got some food and played board games, right? So I think that in the busyness, it's important for families to just be intentional. And sometimes it may be just one night out of the entire week where you can do that, but just make it count. Make it count because, you know, things have to get done. whether it's a 9 to 5 job or ministry or whatever it is that you are a part of. You can't just put those things to the side. But I think what we can do and what I can do is just be intentional about, hey, I've got one night to make it special. And it doesn't even have to be grand. It just has to be intentional. So I find that in these summer days and in the last few weeks, it's really been about, okay, get clarity on the busyness, but make sure that I'm still trying to find, maybe it's just a coffee date with my wife on a morning, because that's kind of all we have. So it can be challenging, but I look forward to trying to get that win. To me, that's a win. So
good. That reminds me. That makes me think of something, Uncle James. So my favorite author is Ernest Hemingway, and I just finished rereading one of his books, For Whom the Bell Tolls. And it's probably one of his more well-known books. But if you haven't read it, the story is about a young man who he's fighting in a war, and he gets put on this mission that he kind of knows it's pretty likely I'm going to die in this mission. And it's at the beginning of the story, the mission's 3 days away, right? And so a lot of the story is about him, how knowing that his death is imminent affects the way he lives these next 3 days of his life. And a lot of it is just about being in the present, right, and taking advantage of the moments that he has. And just one of the themes in the book is how he can live an entire life in 3 days. And so it's a really good book if you guys haven't read it before. But I've been marinating on just that idea of how can I live each day like it's my last, and value the time and the present, and even if it's just taking your kids to youth camp or whatever it is, living it to the fullest. I don't know. That's been on my mind a lot lately, Uncle.
Isn't there a country song, "Live Like You Are Dying"?
Yeah, Tim McGraw.
Tim McGraw.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I remember Eli, when we were young, that was like his song, and I think he learned it on guitar or something like. And you guys remember young Eli? He was just singing that song like he was an old man.
Yeah, I can see it. There's a movie. Actually, Sam recommended A Man Named Otto.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Tom Hanks.
Tom Hanks. Wow. And I won't give it away in case people haven't watched it, but it's one of those movies that kind of aligns with the book you're reading. Some people get very rigid, and it's like Groundhog's Day every day. And sometimes because of that, you don't take in the benefits that you receive from relationships, be it with your family, your neighbors, your church, your community. So definitely recommend that book. I've been trying to really be more mindful of that as well, as James was talking about living in the moment. What's really cool is that, and Joe's not here, but we're all husbands and fathers. We have so much in common, but we're all in different stages of even what that looks like, being a husband and father. And for me, it's been really, it's been amazing to be on this, I wouldn't say a new journey, but part of my journey in being newly married again for almost 6 months. And, Michelle and I have 9 kids. I have 5 boys. She's got four kids, and then the 3 grandbabies. And we're in, it's been awesome the last couple months of just navigating through, just being there for our kids, even though we live by ourselves here in Franklin. 4 of my 5 boys live nearby. None of her kids live here. And so A couple of her kids have been making trips out here. We got to go to Boston a couple weeks ago to see one of her sons. And so James brought up the word intentional, and so that's one thing that we have to be intentional. It seems like a lot of work, but we're finding a lot of joy in keeping up, and thankful for technology. You know, you got the opportunity to FaceTime and to really, we have this, we got a wedding gift, and basically it's a digital picture frame that people can send. There's an app, and you basically send pictures real time. Yeah. And so for, you know, the kids that don't live in town, it's like we don't, you know, miss a beat. We can tell what they're into and what's going on in their lives, especially with the three granddaughters. John, so I think the adults have that. The kids have Snapchat. Yeah, that's what that is. Yeah, like every second. Oh yeah, absolutely. So it's been cool. It's there's a lot going on with every one of our 9 kids. Everyone's healthy. Everyone's great. But we're enjoying that part. I mean, it's going to be a lifelong journey of keeping up with everyone, but it makes for a lot of excitement, you know.
Yeah. That just hearing you talk about technology, Uncle John, I'm curious to ask you guys. Obviously, a popular thing that gets talked about recently is AI and some of the new tech that's coming out. And I don't know about you guys, but for the first time, probably this past month or so, I've started seeing AI in different parts of my life that it feels like seamless. Like, for example, I don't know if you guys are Spotify members, but Spotify just released their first, it's an AI DJ. Have you guys seen this? Wow. Yeah. So his name's DJ X, and he's on my Spotify app. And so I just clicked on it for the first time a couple days ago, and all of a sudden I hear this voice in my car. What's up, Josh? What? This is DJ X, your personal DJ. Oh, wow. And so I've been listening to my AI DJ. He makes playlists for me, and he plays songs that some I've never heard before, but I really like them. Yeah. But also he knows, he'll say, "What's up, Josh? I know how." Obviously he knows how old I am or whatever, and he made a list. This is some stuff that you probably were listening to in high school or middle school, and he started playing these songs that I haven't heard in years. Wow! But I remember them, and I don't know, it was crazy to me.
Wow! That that's like Callie will send me some songs of just unknown artists. I've never heard of these artists, but they're just like our vibe, and it's because on Spotify, whatever song you put in, AI starts building up your catalog. Yeah. And so I was just giving Callie props for, man, how do you're finding all these this talent? And she goes, no,
I've got ways.
Yeah. DJ X.
DJ.
Wow. Interesting.
Yeah, technology, Josh, is pretty interesting how it could be used to your advantage, but it also can be kind of scary, man. I don't know all the devices in my home that are keyed into what goes on in our house, but sometimes we'll be sitting at dinner and having some random conversation, and Alexa will chime in, and I'm like, we didn't ask you. Oh, there she is, Alexa.
You weren't invited to this podcast.
You weren't invited. But man, it's interesting.
Yeah. Are you guys on Twitter?
I am. I'm not real active, but I am.
I don't know if you've noticed recently, I've been seeing more and more of them, of these GPT bots on Twitter, that people a lot smarter than me have programmed them and basically given these AI bots personalities. So there's like a sarcastic one, or a rude one, or all of this stuff. And you'll go on, if you go on Twitter and you look in replies to like tweets that have gone viral, you'll see these bots in there, and it says like automated next to them, but they're having full on conversations with people, and
Yeah.
being sarcastic or being funny or being sad. It's really crazy to me. Yeah.
You know, we had, and we frequently with, because Haley, who's going to be 17, Riley's 14, we'll have these conversations with them about their devices, social media, and technology, which for them and for their generation, that's really all they've known, right?
Right.
And the church that we all belong to, we about a month ago we went through this series on social media detox and digital detox, and which, by the way, was a phenomenal series. But in the conversation that we have with these young people, they're what I find, at least with Haley and Riley, is they're interested in the dialogue, and just in knowing the way we were brought up and how we were raised without it. Some of it they're like, man, it's not a concept that resonates with them. But I'm bringing this up because with AI now, Chat GPT, all of that stuff, the passage that comes to mind, and I don't know that it's a good analogy, but I think about, what the devil meant for evil, God will turn it around for your good. Because there's good, there's advantages, there's advancement to technology. But just like anything, if you abuse it or if you just let it run amok, so to speak, it can be spoiled, right? So I think that with technology, you're not, even as believers, I don't think that the idea should be, hey, we need to get rid of it. It's really just, man, more so, there's opportunities to use technology just like our ministry and our business, but it's always having the conversation, where's the balance? What do we protect ourselves from? What do we protect our kids from? And it's just this ongoing dialogue, being aware, being alert that, yeah, there are some, again, the enemy will use technology, and the enemy has used technology. But as believers and as content creators, storytellers, how do we use it for good?
Sure.
And I don't think we ever arrive, but it's a great conversation to have.
Yeah, I think because AI is basically, it's us. Every time you press the like button or, all of that information goes to like an avatar of every person. And so it's just gathering all of this data and then coming up with all this information.
Right.
And I think James mentioned it as a believer, man. I think just every day we pray for wisdom and discernment.
I have a story just this morning of the technology came in clutch for my wife this morning. We're getting ready to leave on this 9-day run, and she just bought this full, huge carton of eggs from Costco. And she was like, man, what do we do with all the eggs? Maybe call Jet. Jet just got he's in his new place
Shout out to Jet.
with a
Yes,
roommate, and maybe Jet will take the eggs. And I said, no, they're going to be fine. She said, no, they won't. So she gets her phone. How long will eggs be good for? And it said eggs can last 3 to 5 weeks, or you could freeze them for a year. So very important use of technology.
There you go.
Josh, it's also it's a topic of discussion for my family a lot, the two generations, and trying to understand each other, how there's advantages to both. I don't really know much about technology. I do know that it helps us to be a little bit more efficient in just our daily lives. But obviously, us being a little older, not just older, growing up in Samoa, where there was almost none of that. And there was this outlet that we enjoyed growing up. We loved to be in the outdoors and being physically active. And so sharing some of those stories with my kids. I mean, they're active too, but they have this other option. My son loves computer games, being online and that. And sometimes it's hard for me to understand how you can engage someone that you don't, or have engagement with someone that you don't physically see. And so just advantages to both. And so Sam brought this up yesterday. In this house, there's always rehearsals or meetings going on. And he brought up the idea of, hey, man, we should schedule a time where we go play some sports, volleyball or pickleball or basketball, man. And that got me excited, man, because sometimes I'm just like, I can't take another meeting, man. I need to do something outside.
I got to get you guys on the golf course.
Yes.
I want to try that.
I have a question for you guys, because this will be my last thing about tech, but I remember, I think I was 10 or 11 years old when the iPhone came out. And to me, that was like a moment that was like, the iPhone almost seemed like magic to me. Like it was so different than anything I had experienced before. I'm curious if you guys have a memory in your childhood of when a new piece of tech came out that was like, wow, I can't believe this is possible. How does this work? How do they even make this work? Is there anything that stands out in your guys' mind when I ask that question?
Absolutely. When I was taking a semester at the community college in American Samoa, and our teacher, I don't even remember what class it was, but she said, "Follow me. We're going to go up to this office, and I'm going to show you a computer." This computer was like, it was massive, man. And she said, "Now watch this. What is 2 + 2?"
Wow.
The computer said 4. We were like, "Whoa! What?" Oh, I remember that. And then another thing I remember is there's this band called the Clark Sisters, and back in the day, the Clark Sisters wrote and recorded a song called "Computers Rule the World."
Yeah. What year?
But that was back in
70s, 80s?
Yeah,
Maybe 80s.
late 70s, early 80s.
Yeah.
Man, they were
Crazy.
prophetic.
Yeah.
They were prophetic. The other thing I do want to say, Josh, is before all this technology, I feel like it used to be fun to tell stories, But now when I'm telling stories, one of my daughters goes, "No, that's wrong, Dad." I just checked. It's
There's a bunch of fact checkers.
fact checkers. Everybody's a fact checker, man.
Guys, you guys will remember this. There was a time when Grandpa Moses, so landline phones, right? My first memory of a landline phone would be, we drilled it to the
Mounted
wall,
on the
right?
wall.
Mounted on the
Yeah.
wall, right? Those were the landline phones. And then the cordless phones were coming out. Still landline. This is even before cell phones. And our dad, it seemed like every month he would find the new cordless phone.
Oh, wow.
And
Mr. Gadget
he
Man.
was so intrigued and was out of control that one time we came home and he was washing dishes. And he had this landline phone where there's a mic connected.
Wow.
So, it's over there. And he's washing dishes and talking on the phone.
That's
We just
what.
thought that was like the most innovative thing ever, man.
That's one thing. Hearing stories about Grandpa, I feel like I've heard more recently, just because he's been here. One thing I never knew about him is that he was kind of a techie guy.
He was.
I never knew that about him, and you don't think of someone he was born in the 40s.
Exactly.
You don't think of someone his age being interested in tech, but for his time, it sounds like he was. Yeah.
And speaking of Grandpa, Josh, he's the first guy, along with his brother and some cousins. They all would just deck out their vans, right? Their car. Yeah. And I'm talking customize the inside, and they would have a CB radio, So that he was the first one that I remember having a CB radio in his car. I know we had a 8-track player in the car and maybe a cassette player, So he was that guy. And then this was when we were.
Did you say
Yeah.
CB radio?
Yeah.
I don't even know what that is.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's like what truckers use.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah.
They
Like
all had
a
those in their
like a
vans.
yeah.
Interesting.
And then in Samoa, I don't remember what year, he was the first one I remember having a pager. So all of these kind of, again, these were advancements of technology
Yeah.
back then. Somehow, some way, he was clued in on on all this stuff. Interesting.
Yeah, Josh, I mean, you're a little bit too young. You don't even know life before this. This is not when we were really young, but when we moved to Nashville in '93, it's the first time we were introduced to in-ear monitors. And that was pretty, that was a huge change for us, going from, just wedges and then having these things that isolate just the crowd sound, and you hear this click, like metronome sound throughout every song. And man, I'm grateful now, because I don't know if we could do very many concerts without
Yeah,
it.
if those didn't come out, we wouldn't be doing music today.
No.
Our
Yeah.
ears would be
We
fried
would
by
be
those
done.
images,
Yeah,
man.
that makes sense. So this will be a funny conversation. So I think I was born too late to really understand pagers. I know what they do. I know my mom and dad talk about when they had pagers, they used to use them to talk to each other. It doesn't register in my mind though, like, you had a pager and you wanted to page someone, so you knew their number, right?
Yeah.
And then you just type their number in, and then it says,
Yeah, I remember
communicate
you could put little
messages.
messages in there.
Oh, you
like,
could?
Yeah,
like
you weren't,
text?
you weren't necessarily talking through it. It was really more of a text device
Buy
to
some
notify.
milk or something.
Oh, okay, so
Hey,
you could do that.
I forgot something.
So I always
Call
just
me.
thought it was just
call me.
like, oh, my girlfriend's paging me, but then that was it. I didn't know.
Yeah.
I thought, well, what are you supposed
Right,
to do?
right.
No, it could mean anything.
Yeah, it's buzzing you to say, "Hey, call Alexis."
That's
You
interesting.
You don't know what she needs.
Huh.
And pagers, if I'm not mistaken, they were before cell phones.
Right.
But they were really just to notify you, hey, please do this or give me a call. A lot of it was, hey, can you call me?
Was there a range on how far a pager could, or was it like,
I don't know. I mean, I think it was pretty much any
Okay.
distance. And how about this, guys? Do you remember when we had packaged our first CD? I remember. I don't remember what record that was. I think it was the Katina Boys. Was it the Katina Boys? Because I don't think we packaged CDs for our custom. But whenever that
Like songs
was,
from Mom.
I just remember thinking, man, we have a CD.
Yeah.
So
CDs would have been maybe late 80s,
for us.
right?
It was the 80s.
Yeah, coming out
Yeah.
of the 80s.
Yeah.
The last thing I want to say about technology, I've been enjoying seeing law enforcement use technology, and there's just countless cold cases that have been solved
Yeah.
with new technologies, and that's one positive thing.
have you guys heard about, I'm afraid to say her name, but Alexa, them being used in court cases now? So
I could see.
one example that I've heard was there was like an allegation of some domestic violence, and it was kind of a he said she said thing, but they had an Alexa in the house, and they could go back and listen to the times where they said, oh yeah, he hit me here, or he yelled at me here, and they're using that as evidence now. It's really interesting. Yeah.
Well, just think and Jesse kind of brought it up. Just think about what marketing and sales has done, right? I mean, because even now, someone's listening to our conversation,
Yeah.
right? And it creates the algorithm. All of a sudden, Sam will see Raiders advertisements on his news feed on Facebook.
I've seen it too.
Yeah. Or I was born in February, right? And it just starts listing all these things, and
Or
It's crazy.
a T-shirt that says "Girl Dads Rock." I'm like, how do you know?
It's fun hearing about, Uncle, your first experience with the computer, and reminiscing on when I first saw the first person I knew who had an iPhone actually was Uncle Neil. but I'm curious to think about, especially like my younger cousins or even my nephew, what that thing's going to be for them. Have you guys seen Apple is coming out with their own headset,
I've seen that. Yep.
like a VR headset, but this one is actually an AR headset, so augmented reality. So basically, what that means, this is coming out this fall, but the headset is transparent, kind of like a pair of glasses, but it also has a screen inside of it. So you can wear the headset and still see everything around you, but also put up digital images as well. And I don't know if that's going to be the thing, but
So did you pre-order it?
no, my wallet's it's pretty pricey. I think it's like $3,500 or something.
Crazy, man.
So, but
Wow.
in
Could be.
in 10 years it might be $350.
Yeah.
So
Well, do you think that it actually is this whole AI thing little ones like Levi, right? That'll be probably the next 5-10 years of kind of like the iPhone
well,
was.
I'm not an expert, but I feel like AI in a way is different than previous pieces of technology because it's almost like when it's working well, it's almost like you don't even realize it's there. Kind of like this whole DJ thing. If you told me this was just a guy just calling my phone, I know it's not, but it's indistinguishable to me. And so I feel like AI, maybe kids now won't ever have that moment where it's like, wow, this is amazing. It'll just feel so seamless. I don't know.
I don't know if you guys have seen this, and I don't know if it's true, but I saw this. There's a McDonald's. I think there's one right now that doesn't have employees.
Wow.
You can just go through the drive-through and order, and it could be one thing that Josiah Brooks and that generation younger than him, that's what they'll know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Josh, this is terrible, man. So in our home, I'm so old school, and we talk about the differences again. And we have so many remotes in our house, and I'll sit down wanting to watch something, and I can't find a remote. They're like, "Dad, just use your phone." I'm like, "My phone? That's what you guys been using?" They're like, "Dad, figure it out." I'm like, "Man, I can't figure that out." They're like, "What did you do when you were a kid?" I said, "Man, I turned that thing forever, man. Just turn the dial, man." They're like, "Oh, what?"
I will say for the young people listening, it is, for someone like me, it is frustrating with my parents because to me, like, I'm older than like young kids, but I can still just pick something up, and I don't know why. It's just intuitive to me on how to use a lot of these new technologies. It's not like that with my parents. I mean, it's not like that. And so it's frustrating. I understand it's just a different experience and you guys don't have the same background, but it's so weird to me how just growing up with technology has changed our minds. Like, it's altered our minds to where I'm able to use stuff so much easier than my mom or my dad.
Like on autopilot.
Yeah.
So can we talk about maybe there's pros and cons. Let's talk about the cons.
Oh yeah, there's definitely
Because
cons.
I think that there's nothing that replaces human connection. And we learned a lot when the pandemic happened, all of the quarantining and isolation. And, you can be in a room with technology all you want, but I think that as humans, we long for human connection.
Sure.
And
That's so good, Jody.
I mean, so I'm grateful. I mean, if AI could help like our generation to tell a few less lies, then that's good.
Well, and you know what? I'm glad you bring that up because I was just listening to, it was actually a podcast, an interview with with Elon Musk, right? And as futuristic as that guy is, he was giving his thoughts on ChatGPT, which he actually was involved in that development. But he said that he really wants to make sure that every government does their part in creating just regulations, because again, a good thing like technology, artificial intelligence, it can run amok.
Oh yeah.
So you've got to put into place just parameters, and I just thought that was kind of reassuring coming from a guy like him, because he's saying there's nothing that can replace the human touch.
There's a Elon Musk interview where he's talking about just the potential dangers of AI, and he uses an example about how when we build roads, we'll run over anthills and not even think about it. No hard feelings, right? We just don't think about it. And he says AI could get to that point to where it needs to build a road, no hard feelings. It's just you're just in the way. And so it will be interesting to see as we move forward in the coming years. I'm sure that's going to be a battleground politically and culturally of where does AI belong in human lives, and how can we make sure that it doesn't become a road builder and we're just ants on an anthill.
Yeah, Josh, we've also experienced what we're talking about a little bit, even in what we do musically. When we're in the studio, we've worked with all kinds of producers. One of my favorite producers, his name is Tommy Sims. And I've never heard this from anyone else, but a couple times we'd be in the booth and we'd be singing a phrase. And at the end of it, did I do it right? It was perfect, but I didn't think it was. Just technically it was maybe slightly pitchy, but he's talking about the emotion. Man, the emotion overrides that.
That's so good.
And sometimes when people are working on music vocally, we see it in shows, right, on TV, where it's like, wow, they don't even make a mistake. It's just because it's run through a certain filter or auto-tune or something like that. So sometimes it can work against you, where you don't get the full emotion because all of these things just put a certain level of whatever on it.
Yeah. I think I know we're running out of time, but we might need to do a part 2 and talk about cloning.
Oh yeah, it's coming, Uncle.
I've been
honestly,
watching
it's
stuff.
already here. It's already here.
I've been watching stuff.
We
And
could do.
There's questions about Wembanyama. I'm kidding. What? Don't start that, man. Don't start that.
We'll end it with this. So for where we're at right now, I know it's going to be in the past. This will be fun to look back on. NBA free agency starts at midnight tonight. Just if you guys want to throw out a prediction of a name, any player that you think the Lakers are going to sign, if you want to, and then we'll look back and see if anybody was right.
Let me just start out by saying not Chris Paul.
No, the Dubs took care of that for us. It's just the latest one I've seen, and it looks like the Lakers are really going after him. I'm gonna say Bruce Brown.
Okay, Bruce.
Same.
Bruce.
But before Bruce, we got to solidify AR and Rui.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm going to go out on a limb, and I'm going to get some hate from all of the other nephews. I think Kyrie's coming, man.
I knew that was coming. It's sounding more and more likely. We'll see, though. You never know with Kyrie. I'm going to say a guy who I hope comes and I think is within reach is Seth Curry. I think he just makes sense for the Lakers. So,
Josh, I want to just say thanks again for just doing a great job with this podcast.
Thanks so
and
much.
I'm glad to hear that you like the change.
Oh, yeah.
Being here, and we're excited because I've got some great guests that I'm thinking for future podcasts.
Awesome.
So this is awesome.
Thank you, Josh.
Yep. Thank you, guys. To those of you listening, thank you for tuning in. We'll be back with more episodes soon. Have a great day.